Imagine dying in your hometown, and being buried 3,000 kilometers away. Today we're talking about a place surrounded by snow, polar bears. And Russians, let's get into it. Svalbard is an Arctic archipelago located between 74 degrees and 81 degrees north latitude, deep inside the Arctic Ocean. It covers around 62,000 square kilometers, slightly smaller than Latvia. The largest island is Spitsbergen, where you'll find the administrative center, Longyearbyen. Other important islands are Nordøstlandet in the northeast and Jornoya, also known as Bear Island. These islands are mostly uninhabited, aside from small groups of scientists. Longyearbyen has about 2,500 residents, while the entire archipelago has just over 3,000 people. And here's something interesting: people from around 40 different nationalities live here, making Svalbard one of the most internationally diverse communities in the world. Economically, Svalbard's GDP is roughly $583 million, about $194,000 per person, higher per capita than mainland Norway. Its main industries are scientific research, tourism, and coal mining. The climate is harsh. There are no trees. Most of the year, the ground is frozen solid, forming tundra as the dominant biome. Svalbard also experiences one of the most extreme light cycles on Earth, from late November to mid-January, total darkness. This is the polar night. In summer, the opposite happens. The sun never sets. This is the midnight sun. When the ice melts, the landscape transforms. What looks like a frozen desert suddenly becomes alive. There are stories that medieval Icelanders mentioned a land east of Iceland called Svalbard, meaning cold coast. However, historians generally believe they never actually reached these islands. Maybe they reached island called Jan Mayen. Officially, Svalbard was discovered in 1596 by Dutch explorer Willem Barents, who was searching for a northern sea route to China. Soon after, people discovered something even more valuable than trade routes: whales. The waters around Svalbard were full of them. A whaling industry quickly formed. Dutch, English, and Danish crews came seasonally to hunt whales for oil. Whale oil was used for lighting, machine lubrication, soap, cosmetics. Even early margarine, a single whale could produce thousands of liters of oil, but by the late 19th century, overhunting nearly wiped out whale populations. Then came coal. In the early 20th century, large coal deposits were discovered, settlements were built: Longyearbyen, Barentsburg, and Pyramiden. After World War I, the 1920 Svalbard Treaty granted Norway sovereignty over the islands, but allowed other signatory countries equal rights to exploit natural resources. Military presence was strictly limited. In 1925, Svalbard officially became part of Norway, but remained economically open to other nations. Today, only 2 coal mines remain, a Norwegian one in Longyearbyen and a Russian one in Barentsburg. So why are Russians here? The most visible Russian presence is the settlement of Barentsburg, home to around 300 people. Originally founded by the Dutch, it was taken over by the Soviet Union in 1932 and has remained a Russian mining town ever since. It is operated by the Russian company Archipelago. Barentsburg still feels like a frozen piece of the Soviet era. Another former Soviet settlement, Pyramiden, was abandoned in 1998 and now stands as a ghost town, preserved almost perfectly in Arctic cold. Under the Svalbard Treaty, Russia has equal rights to resource extraction. There is even a Russian consulate in Barentsburg. Despite geopolitical tensions, the Russian community continues to mine coal and maintain its presence. About 65% of Svalbard is protected as national parks or nature reserves. Vegetation is limited to tundra, mosses, lichens, small shrubs, all adapted to extreme cold. The wildlife is extraordinary. There are Arctic foxes, reindeer, seals, walruses, various whale species, and millions of migratory birds. One endemic species is the Svalbard reindeer. But the symbol of the archipelago is the polar bear. There are more polar bears than people. Polar bears are globally vulnerable, but around Svalbard they remain relatively numerous, however, climate change threatens their future as sea ice continues to disappear. Despite its isolation, Svalbard is highly developed. It hosts a university center, attracts researchers from around the world, and operates under unique visa rules. Anyone can move there without a visa, though jobs and housing are required. Svalbard is not part of the Schengen area, even though it belongs to Norway. Near Longyearbyen lies the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, often called the Doomsday Vault. Inside a mountain, at -18 degrees Celsius, millions of seed samples from around the world are stored as a backup for global agriculture. Outside the settlements, strict regulations apply. You must carry protection against polar bears. You need permits to travel. Damaging nature is heavily fined. Civilization and wilderness coexist here in a fragile balance. And now, the title of the video. You can't technically forbid someone from dying, but you can forbid burial. On Svalbard, bodies cannot be buried because of permafrost, permanently frozen ground. In frozen soil, bodies do not decompose properly. In fact, bodies buried during the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic were later found to still contain preserved viral material. That raised concerns. In the 1950s, authorities stopped allowing burials. If someone is terminally ill, they are transported to mainland Norway. If someone dies unexpectedly, the body is flown out for burial. Old graves still remain. Could a virus theoretically survive in frozen ground? Yes. Is it likely to trigger a pandemic? Extremely unlikely, unless graves are disturbed and very specific conditions are met. Viruses need living hosts. A corpse is not a virus factory. The rule exists not because there is an active threat, but because no one wants to take that risk. It is a precaution for future generations. Svalbard is not just an Arctic outpost, it's a reminder that no matter how advanced we become, there are places where nature is still stronger than us, where the ground never softens, where history is frozen in time, and where even in death, humans must adapt. At the edge of the world, the rules are different.